Good evening and welcome to the Late Late Show with Irish Tommy. We've got a few things to talk about. We'll talk about the Conference League draw. We're going to have to talk about Moyes, I guess. And we're going to look ahead to our game against Forest tomorrow. So join me in a minute. Good evening. Thanks for joining. And I have a guest with me this evening who has plenty to say as always. And you know who it is if you were watching the live draw with us earlier this afternoon for the Conference League. And it is Luke. You're muted. Oh, there you go. How you doing, mate?
I'm very well. Glad to be back. It's been a while, so good to be back and get in the groove of things. And yeah, I'm with you for 1 week out of the 465 I haven't been, so it's nice to be back.
Yeah, you got the night off. Good for you.
To an extent, yeah.
To an extent, yeah. Take what you can get. Well, look, it's great to have you on. Suppose we'll start at the start, I suppose, and that was the Europa League draw. Obviously, we were both doing it live with Anton and then Russ later on. Thoughts on the draw? Happy, or did you want something a bit tastier, or how do you view it?
I think to an extent, you want a big tasty draw. You want like a Lazio or Fiorentina just for the prestige and the tradition, and the fact that last season in the Europa League we had some tasty draws and we got a lot out of them, atmosphere-wise, memories-wise, etc. But at the same time, I almost think there's like a romance of getting a smaller team. I think when we went away to Kidderminster in the FA Cup last season, I'm one of these people that I quite enjoy going to the underdogs, the team that I never really want to draw the Kidderminsters of this world. I want to see them beat the Premier League team, and I don't want them to see beat us because obviously I want us to go through. So when Declan Rice scored the last minute goal, I was like, great, we've scored, we're still in a tie. But at the same time, I felt gutted for Kidderminster. I felt really gutted for them, and especially when we scored the winner. So I'm not saying that Kidderminster and this team are the same, but what I'm saying is that there is a romance to going to these places that you can write them off and you can say they're a small dog, but that's the romance of football. Football is like that sometimes. It's not all going to be the big teams all the time. It is nice to just go to these teams, and they're going to come to us, and they're probably going to go, do you know what? Okay, we're going to go and we're going to give the London Stadium a bit of Cyprus, a bit of Cyprus fight or whatever, So it's Cypriot fight. So for me, I'm quite liking it. I wanted Lazio. I didn't get Lazio. And to me, kind of any other thing is a bit of a letdown anyway. So the fact we got the one with the smallest stadium left in the competition, it's great. Great for me. I think it's great. Great.
Yeah, I think a lot of the fans are happy. They've got a nice trip to Cyprus. They can kill two birds with one stone. Nice weather and West Ham game. Although there won't be too many West Ham fans in the stadium, but they won't mind. I think
they'll be outside the stadium, sunning it up.
Yeah.
Anything. Good luck to them.
It's only like 8,000 capacity, and we get around 10%. So there's only going to be about 800 fans actually in the ground. But there's actually quite a few Hammers over there as well. There is a Cypriot Hammers supporters group as well.
Exactly.
So they must have been absolutely delighted with that.
Buzzing.
Yeah, I'm quite happy because, like you say, it would have been lovely, like a trip to Rome or a trip to Florence. That would have been obviously much tastier ties. But outside of that, we've got the lowest ranked team left in it, and over two legs. I'm going to say it again, Luke. Over two legs, we really shouldn't be troubled by them. We really shouldn't. Like it's, they're not a great side, and so I think there's a great chance for us to be in the quarterfinals. And Despite I think even our poor Premier League form, I think I said this afternoon, that I think for some reason we just seem to play well in Europe,
Mm.
regardless of Premier League results, and it just seems to suit us for some reason. And we did brilliantly last season in Europe, and the second half of last season Premier League we were really poor.
Yeah.
We were struggling in the Premier League, but we were flying high in Europe, and so I'm hoping we can do the same again. And so I'm pretty happy with the draw. Should be straightforward, and I suppose the quarterfinals is kind of the business end, really. Then, isn't it? There's really going to be no easy tie in the quarters. We can draw anyone, including the teams that were in our pot today. So we could have to play Nice. We could have still Lazio or Fiorentina. Could have Villarreal, teams like that. So we'll get our tasty ties, I think, down the road as long as we can dispatch Larnaca without too much fuss. Um, Question, I suppose. I suppose one of the big questions, which will then bring us on to tomorrow's game, is was it? We don't even know who the manager is going to be really for any of these ties in Europe. Might be Moyes, might not, and I want to get your take on this actually, because obviously we heard very early in the week that should Moyes lose against Forest, that he would be sacked. I'm not sure I'm convinced by that, to be
Yeah,
completely
same here.
honest. I can't say it's definitely not the case, but I have my suspicions that he could even survive a loss against Forest, because the kind of word coming out, if that can be believed, also of course, later in the week, was that the board have really got nobody there to replace him. What's your take on this? Do you think it's curtains for him if we lose, or do you think he'll still be able to cling on?
Um, I think at this
Because
point,
I think Sullivan just does not want to sack him.
I think it's. I don't think he will be sacked personally. I think it's gone on too long. Um, and if you do sort of get a manager in now, it's almost like at the last possible moment to get a new manager in, considering where the season is. But it could be something that if these reports come out in the media saying they are backing Moyes no matter what happens against Forest, the fan base could have been toxic all week. It could have been it could have been swearing blinding, and there could have been protests outside the stadium. There could have been everything because they're saying, look, if he doesn't beat Forest on Saturday, he might be gone. So everyone sort of goes, okay, maybe there's a chance he won't be. Okay, fair enough, that's fine. He's got to do it then. He's got to do the job that he's got in hand. He's got to win then. So it relaxes everyone to an extent more than they would have been if they'd have flat out come out and said, no, he's our man for the season. That's it. Deal with it. Then it would have been, or just say nothing, because I think sometimes fans, they want to hear something rather than hear. So silence is like a backing almost in itself. If there's nothing said, then people just feel like they're just going on along as normal. So I don't believe he'll get. Me personally, I don't believe he'll get sacked, because I think if it would have happened by now. I actually think the best possible time to sack him was prior to the World Cup, after the Leicester game. That was the perfect time, and they didn't do it. And for me, they've missed the boat, because unless I can't see a top manager like they're bounding about just recently coming in and dealing with this. I know we've got the Conference League, but do they want the stain of relegation on their CV? Yes, they'll win the trophy, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they will. I could be completely wrong. But for me, it's too late for them to sack him now. And to be honest, I'm bored of the whole thing anyway. That's how much it's killed off my motivation to see in or out or whatever.
Yeah, and it's a bizarre way to run a club anyway. I mean, it's like apparently the first kind of make or break game for him was home to Everton, right? So you had to win that. If you lose that, he's gone, right? Let's say that was the case, that he'd have been sacked if we lost to Everton. So that's him on a knife edge, right? He's hanging on by a fingernail at that point. Beats Everton, So they say, right, we'll give them some more games. So we're actually in a worse position now in the table than we were then. We've only picked up 2 points from the next 9 available. And now we're back to this situation where it's, oh, if he loses to Forest, he's gone. And then we don't lose to Forest and we're resetting the clock again. What if you've given a manager an ultimatum, like, you don't beat Everton, you're gone? Why would you give him the luxury of a second ultimatum down the
Yeah,
line?
yeah.
It's ludicrous. I mean,
Mm.
how do you run a club like that? Surely, if you got to the point where a second ultimatum is required, you should be thinking, yeah, look, you're not getting another ultimatum. You're not getting another chance of, just sack him.
This is what I'm saying. This is. I tweeted shortly after that this, um, you know, addendum come out. This whole ultimatum come out that if he, I went, so what? So what if he beats Forest? If it's a scrappy 1-0 in the last minute period deflection or something like that, he goes, oh, we won the game now, and then we go and lose the next two, and then get a scrappy draw in the fourth one. Well, beating Forest realistically is the easiest win he could get. Forest are in good form. They've just got a draw against Man City, so they're not going to be easy team to beat. Plus, we've got Chris Wood, who loves to go a goal against us. But so what if we beat Forest? So what? It's the games after that that are you going to say, okay, well, you can lose it? Because it's almost so, I think it's almost seen as like, well, if you can't even win your easiest game, then you're out. But Spurs wasn't, don't get me wrong, it wasn't an easy game. But they're not in the best of form. They've conceded 4 against Leicester and stuff like that. And the main thing that was missing was fight. The main thing that was missing was we want to win this game just as much as Spurs do, and that's a problem. So yes, okay, you can win 1-0, but like I've said before, if you're winning in the most soul-suckingly boring way possible,
Yeah.
it's almost like I win, but what's the point? You've won, but why? It doesn't matter. Like. Just don't bother winning, because this is like it's like being bashed on the head multiple times and just hoping
Yeah.
that the pain subsides and you don't feel it anymore. That's that. It's
Yeah,
mad.
like you say, we could go out and win tomorrow, and
Mm,
I guarantee you we'll find ourselves back in exactly this situation for the
yeah,
home game against Southampton.
yeah.
It'll be, oh, he has to beat Southampton or he's gone. And it's like stop, just, and like you say, like I think it's very difficult now, like, to sack him. I mean, who would you even get? I mean, you're talking really about, because I don't think we're going to get a new permanent manager right now.
No.
I think that would have to be the end of the season when we know we're going to be in the Premier League next season. I think if you sack Moyes now, you're looking at bringing someone in just to try and get us over the line till the end of the season. And you've got very few options, very
I
few. Who wants to come in? Okay, you're going to have to say, like, come in. You've got 14 games, and we'll give you a couple of million quid if you keep us up. So you've got to find someone who's willing to just come in for 14 games and keep us up. Um, that's not easy to find either. You may have to promote someone from within the club just to take over for the remainder. So, I mean, for us to be in this position, it is absolute negligence from the board, absolute negligence from Sullivan. Like you say, he should have been gone when we broke for the World Cup.
I I I said this point, made my point on the previous video earlier on the day when me and Russ were on, and in my opinion, I'm kind of sick and tired of getting the sort of managers in that are keep you safe and that's their job done, because I think what we went through with Moyes prior was that we kept him on. We've probably kept him on and given him some credit this season for what he's done the last 2 seasons, which is fair enough. But after a while, you just got to wake up and smell the coffee. But for me, I want us to take a risk and employ a young upcoming manager. I want us to not go, well, we're going to have to grind out 1-0 results and just defend relentlessly to try and get points to stay up. It doesn't have to be like that. I watched the first half, or a bit of the first half of the Fulham Wolves game just now. Wolves are apparently fighting for their lives just as we are, and they're playing great football. They went 1-0 against Fulham. It was a good game to watch. They were playing good counter-attacking football, and they were great. For me, there doesn't have to be Sean Dyche, Sam Allardyce, Steve Bruce football. to keep you up, because you can win games just as well playing decent, free-flowing, attacking football. I wouldn't be saying this if I didn't think we had the squad capable of playing that sort of football.
Yeah.
The whole thing is the fact that David Moyes has got a squad there that he doesn't have to play the football he's playing right now. So if you've got a manager in who wants to make a name for himself, who's around early 30s, something like that, you can find that Bartle Carrick's managing Middlesbrough. You've got the guy who's managing West Brom. You've got Will Still, who's in the French league. These managers are there, and they are gasping for a chance to work, A, in the biggest league in the world, B, in Europe, and also are still in the FA Cup. So, for me, they won't do it. Our owners aren't that savvy, aren't that, we're a bit simple-minded, should we say, in the way that they do business. They're very, no, we will get this done, that done, this done. They won't put, here's a 10-point plan. They'll put, here's a 1-point plan, get that completed, and we'll move on to the second-point plan. And football's not like that anymore. Football's not like that. So look at what Brighton did. Brighton got rid of Potter and already had the guy they knew was going to come in. So, unfortunately, the way I would like it to go isn't going to happen, because we haven't got the owners capable of making it happen. So as much as I can wish for a young upcoming manager who's going to play blinding football, entertain the crowd, start trying to be successful, for me, I'm kind of already thinking, well, if Moyes goes, they're going to get someone else in like it. Maybe they will get in Nolan from the caretaker staff and say, look, you've managed before, fancy giving it a go for the next 4 months.
Yeah, I mean, they literally said it, didn't he, Sullivan? He said if we were going to sack Moyes, the exact kind of manager we'd be looking for to try and save our season is David Moyes. So, and there's a reason, that all the talk of our links, if Moyes was going to be sacked, was like Rafa Benitez and what's his name, former Leeds manager, Argentinian. God, I hate when I draw a blank. Bielsa.
Yeah.
So it was Benitez or Bielsa that they were looking at and who they approached to come in. And that goes to show you, like, Sullivan is absolutely clueless. Like, he doesn't actually know any managers. Those are probably like the 2 he knows of.
Bielsa, I have to disagree with. I think Bielsa would be the biggest risk we could take, especially on a short-term deal.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah. I'm talking about from Sullivan's point of view. Yeah. They're probably the only 2 names he could come up with in his head.
Yeah,
they're available. Because you mentioned like the Brighton model, right? Because that's a club that's really well run. They know exactly what they're doing, right? So they know the kind of people they're going to lose, right? Players mostly, obviously. They know the kind of players that are being looked at and that they're going to lose. They already know who's going to replace them. They're the same with Potter. They knew he's doing a great job. He might get poached. If we lose him, who's next up and who's going to fit in with the philosophy of the club and the way we play, is going to be able to come in and hopefully hit the ground running. It happened. Potter went to Chelsea. Like that, De Zerbi, they went there, got him, brought him back, and they didn't miss a step.
No.
Brighton didn't miss a step. We're not run like that. No. The reason we're being linked with Bielsa and Benitez is because they're the only 2 people Sullivan's got a clue that can pull out of his head.
Premier League experience.
He doesn't know about managers around Europe and who the hot young managers around Europe are, and it's crazy the way these things are run, and so it was so depressing seeing those names, Benitez and Bielsa. I'm like, oh God, it was just
Bielsa would be
predictable, and plus Sullivan has this bizarre thing where whoever we hire has to be out of work. What's that about?
Oh yeah. So,
no, they have to be unemployed. Why? Brighton went and got De Zerbi. He was working. They just went and got him. Paid for whatever the compensation was, because that was the man that they believed was the right man for the job. And Sullivan doesn't want to go compensate a club for their manager. That's why it's Bielsa and Benitez. It's just they're out of work. They're unemployed. We can just get them in, no compensation. It's pathetic. I mean, I can't understand. This is the thing that gets me, Luke, is that we spend all this money assembling a squad. It's a good squad we've got now. You know, some very
Fantastic.
good players. Really good squad. I'm very happy with it. Apart from a couple of positions, but overall, I'm very happy with the squad. It's strong and it's good depth. Uh, and then he wants to scrimp on the manager. Do you know what I mean? It's like buying like a really great kind of race car and then putting these really shit tires on it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, what's the point?
No premium diesel where that car's concerned. No.
Yeah,
No, it's but that is the problem, and that is this is. I think they they got lucky where David Moyes is concerned, because they bought him on the cheap. He was unemployed, and
yeah,
they said, right, we got rid of you first time round. Come do the same thing to us again, and then we'll give you the respect by giving you, which at the time makes sense because we were doing really well. He'd done his job well perfectly. Problem is, I think Nick made the point, a very good point, um, on Claret Booze, quite a few videos ago. I think him and Sullivan are very similar. They're very similar people in the way they work
yeah,
because since since Moyes brought in Lingard and then Lingard left, um, Moyes when Moyes finds something that works, he grabs hold of it. He holds on to it like a goalkeeper when he gets the ball in the 90th minute and he holds on to it like just to waste time. And he goes, "This works, so I'll keep doing this." And he lost. Lingard didn't want to come back. He was at Man United, and he said, "I'm not coming back. I'm staying at Man United. Please, please come back. We really want you, West Ham. Yeah, but I don't really want to come back. I want to. Ronaldo's here. I want to play for Man United. I'm on last year. Just please come back here." So he does it over and over again to the point where like you're letting other um, other players go by because you're just concentrating on that one bloke. You want Lingard back. Then goes for Nesri at Sevilla, who tells him, "No, I'm settled. My family's settled. Don't want to come," and then chases him endlessly. Um, then you've got the latest one, which is the five at the back, which worked for the first few games. It made us look a bit more stable at the back. We were getting better results, not much better, but better results. We weren't losing, and we looked confident. And Newcastle game was a perfect result, even though we started in a really jit fashion. But it got to a point, especially against Chelsea, when Chelsea are in a really terrible form, and he still sticks with the same formation and the same approach and the same system because he's like, no, if I change it, I'm risking everything that I've built over the last 5 games to try and get us better results. And Moyes is clueless. Don't worry, Moyes has now got to the point where he's blaming players and he's blaming everyone else because he's reached that point that all managers get to when they're under pressure, which
luck.
they have, which they haven't got a clue what to say. They haven't got a clue what to do. They just go with the normal paraphrasing, which is like, "Yeah, we played well today. Let's just go with a positive. They'll come out negative. I'm going to get hammered in the press and stuff like that. Think of a positive. Blame someone else for doing something wrong, even when it's not their fault." And it goes
Yeah,
from Ings. We haven't started Ings yet, so that's the first problem, right? It's a ridiculous statement to make. It was a ridiculous statement to make. And then you've got an owner who doesn't like changing things because he can't be asked. He can't be asked to research. He can't be asked to scout. So he goes, "Look, this bloke has given me 2 really massively improved seasons from when I bought him the first time round. He when he was at Everton 400 years ago, his 3rd season in charge was pretty pants. So maybe if he keeps up this season, the next season will be really, really good. We'll be changing for top 4 like he did at Everton. All these things encompassing, the owner is just as bad as the manager." And it's funny because apparently Sullivan's come out today and he slagged off the government regulations thing for the league or something along those lines, like the government uses. Pot kettle, mate. Pot kettle. You have run West Ham like you are saying the government have run this country, which is right, but the fact that you're saying it is ridiculous and it is laughable. So we're all hoping that Moyes is going to get sacked. I'm hoping that Moyes is going to, because I'm fed up. I'm drained. I'm going to the game tomorrow and I'm not looking forward to it at all because I know exactly how we're going to play. We've got a fully fit squad for the first
yeah,
time probably all season. And I tell you now, I said to Russ about predictions. I don't really want to make a prediction until I know what team's going to put out because even those
yeah.
all
It's
these players,
difficult. Yeah,
all these players at his disposal, I still think he's going to put the same team as he did last game. And it'll be the same approach. And it'll be bring them all on with the last 10 minutes and see if we can nick a 1-0 win at home to Forest. So for me, I've got no faith in anything to do with the club in a minute. Bring all the players back. Bring the players back from, 20 years ago. Bring, all the players who've won trophies for West Ham over the years in their prime. Bring the Tevez's back. Bring them all back. You ain't going to get in the team. And you ain't going to get my game time. And we don't want your talent or your flair. Bring the players back. It doesn't matter. He'll still start with his favourites. He'll still start with the players that he will play his system. And I tell you now, the players are fed up. I've done a video on Declan Rice. I have got a problem with Declan Rice, as I said in the video, but he is part of the problem that Moyes has created. And part of that problem is that he has sucked the life out of the players.
Yeah.
Massive point I'm going to make just before I stop this rant, because I'm going to rant too much otherwise. Aguerd has started making a few mistakes in the last few games, right? As well as making some brilliant, fantastic tackles, right? When you're asked to defend constantly for 90 minutes, relentlessly, you are going to make mistakes. We are ridiculously lucky that Chelsea weren't 3 or 4-0 up before we scored our goal to equalise. If you're saying, right, for 80 minutes, you're going to defend for your lives, the pressure on the defence is ridiculous. I'm not surprised Kerry gives a mistake away because he's not that good as it is. And the fact that he's being asked to carry the back five, mainly the back three, are being asked to carry the weight of the full 11. And it's not fair, and it is draining all of them. It's funny because I remember when Pellegrini was the manager, and someone said to me, how can you get motivated by that bloke? He looks old, he looks sapped, he looks like completely unmotivational. I think David Moyes is the same now. I don't think David Moyes motivates them players. They don't look motivated at all when they go onto their pitch. They're just like, right, well, we know the game plan. Everyone knows the game plan. Antonio said the game plan. Rice said the game plan. We all know it. If we know it, 60,000, average fans, with apparently, experts out there, and Moyes himself, what are these other clubs doing who have been working on, intense professional analysis all week? They know what they're going to do. They know what we're going to do. They know our game plan. They ain't got to worry about us. So the whole thing is stale. It's stale and it's rotting. And it hurts that it's like that. And it shouldn't be. If we didn't have the squad we've got, I would have understood it a bit more. But we've got a much better squad than that. We've got we have world-class players in our squad, and they're being let down by the system. And I kind of think that there needs to be some sort of. I would love the players to revolt. I would love the players 30 minutes in when you can tell the fans are getting bored. It's a library in there tomorrow. I would love them to go, do you know what? Fuck it. We're all going to go and attack. We're just going to go and try and score goals. And then you see David Moyes ripping his head going, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? We don't like attacking. We don't like this. What are you doing? Trying to score goals. And we go and win 4-5-0. And all the players rejoicing. And everyone loves him. and everyone loves the team. So it's, at the minute, I am on my knees with this team, and I actually feel sorry for the players. I don't blame the players one little bit. I feel really sorry for Antonio because he's doing all that work up front on his own. He has 5 men around him every game because they know balls can get to him. It's Allardyce football. Big long ball up to Antonio, knock it down for everyone else. He's got an out of form bone with him. You can't do much these days because he's not the same player that he was. The whole thing is just a joke.
Yeah, and it kind of it goes back to Mandy earlier saying, "Can you explain Tommy Moyes' thinking last week with 5 at the back and 3 holding mid players? Surely, as we lost, he would have got caned." It's just the way Moyes operates. When he gets in trouble, he doesn't try something new or different. He just doubles down. It gets even worse. I mean, I remember maybe a couple of weeks ago where he'd been asked about the new formation and stuff, and he said, "Well, yeah, I just wanted to shore things up at the back a bit and make us a bit more solid at the back, defensively." And I'm thinking, this guy's lost it. He's absolutely lost it. I said, we've got the 5th best defense in the league. It's not a problem. We can't score goals. Is that what you're talking about? I just want to make things a bit more solid at the back. That's why, Mandy. Because that's the only way he can think. It's why we only had 2 attacking players on the pitch away to Tottenham last week, both of whom, by the way, are converted wingers. Neither of them is a number 9. They're not strikers. Um, and it's why we are where we are. I agree. He's for that team we've got, regardless of any excuses about injuries. Every team gets injuries.
Mm-hmm.
That team we've got should be nowhere near the relegation zone. And it's the fact that we're kind of sitting here talking about are there 3 worse teams than us is a disgrace. And this is where Sullivan baffles me again. It's like if I feel like if I'm running any business and I've got, say, some project manager, and I'll say, right, this is our project, you're managing it, and here's like a shit ton of money to manage the project, and he's making a complete fucking balls of it. He's off the project. There's no way
Mm-hmm.
I'm letting him get to the end of the project, and especially when it's not getting better and there's no sign. I'm like, how long would you leave someone there when you've invested that much, and I mean, Moyes can never say he hasn't been backed, and so to allow him to continue as he has is absolutely baffling. And then then there's also the question of if Sullivan is hoping to sell the club soon. He's playing with fire. And
Yeah.
why? Why are you playing with fire? I mean, he can't sell it if we're in the championship. He's going to get nothing like what he wants to get for the club to make the money he wants to make from the sale. And there's no guarantee, far from it, that we would come straight back up. What if we spend 3 seasons down there? And Sullivan's like, it's baffling to me why you would allow this kind of misappropriation of funds, let's call it. To be spunking that kind of money, like we should be expecting results. We should be top 10 team.
In fairness, they've done it before. They've got previous. They done it with Avram Grant, and they stuck by him. And when they'd just taken over the club after getting Zola slagged off in the press and trying to get him to quit and all the other stuff, and being horrible to him basically and just mugging him off completely. Then they got their man in Avram Grant, who was basically probably even worse, to be fair. Egg on their face with that one. Sacked him after the last game of the season. And, I'm not. It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't. It would have surprised me more if they'd have sacked him, even though they should have. They should have. I still stick by they should have, but I'm also not surprised they haven't sacked him. They've got this. People are saying it's loyalty. I don't think it's loyalty. I don't think it. I think it's personally. There probably is maybe a tinge of loyalty because they're looking at it like, we can't sack a guy who's got us into Europe, 2 seasons in a row and all this and all that sort of stuff like that. But at the same time, I don't think they go, well, we can get rid of you because we can get him in. Because what I think people forget, honestly do forget the bridges they've burned in football. The clubs and the managers that don't want to work for them. The only reason why Moyes has come back is because he was free and he was cheap. And like I've said, he struck gold with getting us where we were. He can say all he likes about building a project. Well, the project stopped at the beginning of last season because nothing's got better. It's got worse and it's gone down decline. He was found out at Man United. He was found out at Sunderland, found out at Sociedad. We picked up the pieces and we gave him a chance. And he done really well with that chance at the start. But when he's doing interviews and podcasts and saying that, he didn't buy a second striker because Antonio was doing so well. Yeah, he was. But he also said publicly that he needed help. No team has only one striker on the books. They always have someone to help out. And this is why I don't personally believe, again, it doesn't make sense. I don't believe that he's bought half the players that were bought in the summer. I don't believe he bought Skamakary. I don't believe he bought, I believe he bought Gerd in. I think he wanted a Gerd. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of the other players, I don't think he wanted in. For example, we've got Areola in, and he still plays Fabianski as the number one goalkeeper. when he done that against Man City on the opening day, I thought, no, there's something wrong here. Ariola should be the number one keeper. There's no way he should still be number two. So that was alarm bells ringing from then. But I honestly, I think if Moyes had got his way, the only player I would have signed in the summer was Agard, and it would have been the same team as it was last season, same system, same way of playing.
Yeah, because he spent weeks fucking around trying to sign Lingard.
Yeah, exactly. So to me, he says it all. He's just he likes his own way of doing things. There was a comment made a little while back. I can't remember who it was, but I think it might have been. I can't remember who it was now, but Moyes likes the old style of managing, the old school style. Whatever I say goes. You know, you play your way. You don't change it because you don't need to change it because that's your way. You live and die by the way you play. So in that way, it's a stubbornness that's going to kill you, and you know it's killed him so far because
Yeah.
I don't see any life in him anymore. You know, and it's sad. It is sad the way it's gone. It shouldn't have been like this. It didn't have to be this way. But you know, you're getting all these players in, these good upgraded players that we brought in over the summer, to a manager that just either doesn't want to use them or doesn't know how to use them. And I think it's a bit of both.
What do you think he's going to do tomorrow? Because, given his stubbornness, I mean, like I thought, like in the Everton game, he might do something really different because he knew his neck was on the line. I thought he might think, okay, I've got to really be positive here and really go for it. And we didn't really see that. And so it's hard to believe that he'll go for it tomorrow at home to Forest. I think I don't know. Do you think he'll switch up the formation at all, or will he stick with these three centre backs and wing backs, or do you think he'll go revert to his old 4-2-3-1 or something?
I personally think he'll stick with the five at the back. I think it'll be very, very similar to the way it was against
It
Spurs.
feels like he's always wanted to do that, doesn't it?
I don't even think I don't think he thinks it's that. He's just found something that worked for however much short time it was. He's been
2
getting
games.
he's been getting draws, and the one odd win here, I think Derby and Everton and all that, but the fight with the back was working for him. So right, that works. I'm going to use that until I've killed it, until it's dead, until I can't use it anymore. So tomorrow, I fear that he'll go exactly the same way. He'll have all the new fit players on the bench. They'll come on for like changes. Antonio will come off about 75 minutes, and Danny Ings will come on, and Danny Ings will be expected to do exactly the same job as Antonio, which you can't do. Then Skamaka will come on, and we won't put any balls in the box for him, and we'll ask him to do the running around for the last 10 minutes. See if you can grab a goal, son. See if you can grab a goal. Good luck to you. So I've got no faith. I've got no faith. Like I said to you, he could have all the world-class players in the world. If you don't know how to use them, don't want to use them, it's redundant. So for me, I think he will put out his tried and trusted, not so much successful formation. I hope he does change it around, and if he does, I'll have an ounce more respect for him for showing a bit of moose, for showing a bit of tactical, and let's face it, shit, I need things to change.
I think he has to.
He has
I
to.
think he has to, because the worry for me is that second half last week was a massive worry for me, massive worry, and also Declan Rice came out, if you remember, after the game talking about only having two people up top and they're isolated and stuff like that. I think if he puts out the same formation tomorrow and same kind of setup, last week we had we've got three centre backs, we've got two wing backs who are defensive as well, and we've got three midfielders, none of whom were attacking midfielders, none of them, and he's only got really two attacking players on the pitch in Antonio and Bowen, and I think if he goes out with that same formation and that same attitude tomorrow, I think we're bang in trouble, because I think if the players see that again, I think they're fed up. I think they're fed up with it,
They are.
and I think
They
they've
are.
completely lost faith in what they're doing. If
Mhm.
they go out in that formation tomorrow, I don't think we'll get a performance from the players because they'll think, "Oh Christ, here we go again." I think they looked really fed up to me last week. Like they just not mutinied against
No,
Moyes. I don't
no,
think there's a mutiny, but I just think the players need to
it's
be shown something that they can be
sucked the soul
positive
out of them,
about.
sucked the life out of them.
Yeah, he has sucked the life out of them, and
Mm.
as you say, people talk about defensive errors, and you're spot on with that because I actually said that earlier in the week. I can't remember who I was on with, might have been James, but I said, about these defensive errors. Oggy had a couple of defensive errors against Tottenham, which cost us a couple of goals,
Mm.
and I said, look, that's inevitable. If you're sitting back for the whole whatever, I think it was 96 minutes, whatever it was we played up at Tottenham.
Yeah,
If you're defending almost the entire game, of course there's going to be mistakes because you're just defending all the bloody time. You can't. You're not. It's asking a lot to be bloody perfect for all when you're doing that much defending.
yeah.
Errors will happen, and I think if he sets up like that tomorrow, I think we'll lose because I think the players are just completely fed up with it. Whereas if he does something really different, if he comes out, flat back four, say Rice and Paqueta in midfield or whatever, and he's got, say he throws in Corney and he puts Fornells in the 10 and Bowen's there and Ings or Skamaka starting up front, and he's actually got some attacking players up there. And the players, and we go out with the attitude of, where he's given them the instructions, right? We're going to get after this lot, and let's go score some goals. And I think the players would respond.
They would.
I think the
They
players
absolutely
would
would.
respond to that in a positive way. So I'm terrified that he's going to set up the same way tomorrow. Um, but whether he will or not remains to be seen. I mean, it's hard to believe he'll do it, yeah, especially given the Tottenham game last week. And
It
we're at
is.
home. And we're
It
at home to
is.
the only team in the league that are worse than us on the road. So
Yeah.
I mean, if he does that again tomorrow, I mean, I'll be absolutely fuming, and I think the players will just be dejected if they see that again. He can't do it. Like,
I'm not. I'm not. I must admit, right? I've supported this club um, for a lot of years, and I've seen a lot of crap. And I've seen a lot of, you know, poor performance. In fact, I've actually been watching. If anyone hasn't watched it, it's quite interesting. Mark Noble has been doing interviews with Jack Mate and also Ben Foster on the Foscast. You can find the clips on YouTube. There's not many, but there's enough, and you do get ins and outs. I won't go into it right now, but you get an interesting feel for what goes on at a football club,
yeah,
behind closed doors, and the way managers talk to players and the way players respond to managers and stuff like that. But I've never. You've got Mikel Antonio on a podcast with Callum Wilson, two current Premier League players, and Antonio is openly saying a tactic, right? This is like, you don't really do this if you're a footballer. It's all meant to be behind closed doors. But plus exactly the way that Moyes has been wanting it for the last 2 or 3 years, right? And he's saying our instructions are to sit back and defend and go in the last 10 minutes. Now, when Allardyce was hired, you had pretty much all the traditional West Ham fans saying, "Don't want him, don't want that muck football. That's not, that's anti-West Ham. That's disgusting. Long ball football. Don't want it, right?" And then you've got a player openly saying, possibly the most anti-West Ham style of football ever, and he's saying it openly to a public forum, and like, there's been nothing from Sky. There's been nothing from TV sports companies saying, that, because he's almost slagging him off, isn't he? He's almost slagging Moyes
yeah,
off in a roundabout way, but not doing it, exactly. He's sort of going roundabout, beating around the bush about it, and he's laughing about it as well. I think I've seen the clip myself before, and it's like, this is like almost like you're mugging that guy off, you're mugging Moyes off, and yeah, it's not been talked about at all in nothing's come of, the owner hasn't come out and said, "Oh, we understand what you said," but because it's a bad thing, it's a ridiculous thing. It's like, it's almost like, well, you're telling the rest of the league how to play against us. You're telling everyone you don't believe in the way Moyes is 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 making you play, and yet nothing changes. Nothing. It's just like, so yeah, that's how you want us to play. Okay, we'll go along. Sullivan hasn't said anything to Moyes saying change your formation because he's just outed you, and every club is going to know how we play now. As far as I know, Moyes hasn't gone, yeah, Mickey, that's not on, son. No more of that, son. He's just gone, yeah, that is how I play. See if you can beat us. Oh, you have beat us. Okay, I have to rethink that one then. And it doesn't rethink it. But I just find the whole situation just baffling. I don't know how we've got to this point where this man who changed us from being, you know, we've gone from being a hard-working team that, okay, we didn't play the best football in the world, but at least all the players knew their jobs and they were doing it to the best of their abilities. And we were beating Liverpool at home and Chelsea at home. We were playing, the crowd was loving it. We had European nights. The football was pretty good. It was, it was to a team that are just scared of their own shadow.
Yeah.
And I don't look. David Moyes was obviously a defender in his career, right? He must find this football entertaining. He must find this football, good to watch. No football fan enjoys watching it because it is soul destroying.
Yeah.
But I don't get how you would want your team to be scared in a football match. I don't know why you would want your team to try and in the last 10 minutes go for it. I don't know why you'd not want to go to Liverpool, Man United, and say we're West Ham and we're going to give you a game. You go, no, you're all right. We'll be over here. We'll just be trying to, go about our usual day. If you want to score, it's up to you, but we'll try to. Look, it's ridiculous. This man is turning into the anti-West Ham guy. And I don't understand why there hasn't been a mutiny. You've got Mark Noble who's seen it all. You've seen good managers, you've seen bad managers, you've seen good players, bad players, and there's not yet been any board disruption. There's been a rumour when he first sort of turned up this first month, but I don't know what's going on with the club now. I really don't understand what's going on with the club. There seems to be a non-functioning club, and I don't understand any of it, to be fair.
Have you heard in training all week? He spends 90% of the time focusing on how to stop the opposition.
Yeah, that's do 50% of the time, and then do the rest of the time how we can dismantle the opposition. Every manager does that. That's fine. Not the majority of the time. And it's like you would go into into games going, I know how to stop you. I'm going to stop you. And you go, okay, so what you can do to me? I'm not going to do anything to you. I'm just know how to stop you. It's fine. But it's mad. It's madness. And it's but this
Yeah, and
the
like
worst
you
thing.
say, it's just fucking. I mean, it's bad for us, right? Because we just watched the game at the weekend. Imagine having to be a player. So not only do you have to play in the game with those tactics, but then you've got to train it all week. With this crap going on. Like you say, it must be absolutely soul destroying for the players. Um, so, given that we think Moyes might be entirely predictable tomorrow, um, let's say you're in control for tomorrow, Luke. Now every player is available. They're not all match fit. Fair enough. I think some. I think they could probably all start the game. You might not get 90 minutes out of all of them,
No, no.
but given that they're all available, you can start whoever you like. You can have whatever starting 11 you want. First of all, what formation would you play tomorrow?
I'd probably play a 3-5-2. And yeah, 3-5-2. I play a lot of FIFA football manager for the career mode, so I'm constantly looking myself at different formations and stuff like that. But as we're doing so well with the wing backs, play a more attacking version of the five. So you'd have your three at the back, then you'd have your Safal and Emerson going up the left and right wings. Then I'd probably have Rice and Downs in the middle, and then you have your attacking midfielder just in front of them, right? With two forwards. So I probably have obviously Antonio, because I think he's a good player. I just feel sorry for him. I mean, I think he's doing too much work for his own. And then Skamaka or Ings. I think you've got that because to me, Skamaka and Ings are kind of the same ilk. Ings is faster; he's got more pace about him, but they're kind of the same ilk. Although obviously, you've got Skamaka's taller, so he'll be more
They
than
could, they
every
could,
threat.
they could form a good partnership, those two, if given the opportunity.
Yeah, but this is I'm not. People will say we want two up front. For me, it's almost like a dead formation now. Most teams in the league and in world football play with one player up front. So I'm not. I understand where everyone's coming from, and I'm not sure whether they're saying that because they've been so devoid of any attacking play. They just want to put two people up there just to try and get some sort of enjoyment out of the game. But the old 4-4-2 days, I think, are kind of done. I think you don't have to play that way. But you can if you want to, but a lot of teams are one man up front. That's just the way teams play now. It's more possession based and all the rest of it. But there are ways around it. So, like I said, you can play your three at the back. You can play your two wing backs, and then your three in the midfield and two up top. You can do that. So potentially that's what I would go with just to mix it up a little bit because, even though Antonio's a handful, defenders know what he's going to do. It's not hard to work him out. And he needs a bit of help up there. I think he needs a bit of help and he needs a bit of assistance. And, hopefully he gets it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I say, we've got to figure out how to start scoring goals. Defensively, we're already decent. So, I'd be fine with that. I think, you see, I don't get too hung up on formations. Like, there's no formation as such that I hate. I think it comes down to the personnel on the field and the intent, more than anything else. And so I would be fine with 3-5-2. Same as you say, for example, if we went Areola in goal, Aguerd, Zuma, Kerrer, as the centre backs, Emerson, Sofal as the wing backs, Rice and Paqueta as midfielders, and then in front of them, as a more advanced midfielder, you could play someone like Fornals or Lanzini. I'd probably dip for Fornals. And then you could have your two up top. Ahead of that, you could have Skamaka and Ings in there and say, right, you two go form a partnership and work off each other and support each other up there. So you've not got a lone striker. And make sure you're getting, plenty of support up there from Fornals. Your wing backs pushing up when we were in possession and stuff. And obviously, Paqueta and Rice can push forward, into that midfield up into their half, up around the edge of the D or the semicircle in their half, getting on the ball there, keeping things moving. You can push them back and pin them in, and have your two forwards in there. So you could do that. You could do 4-3-3. No problem with 4-3-3, flat back four. Again, you got Aguerd and Zuma there. Play Emerson and Sofal as your fullbacks. Midfield, you could have Rice and Paqueta. You could go Cornet left, Bowen right. Cornet ahead. So there's three midfields. So you could still have your attacking midfielder in there with Paqueta and Rice. You could still go Fornals in there, and then up ahead of that, you could have, say, if you want to start with either Skamaka or Ings as the striker, and then say Cornet and Bowen either side of him, for giving support. So there's different ways you can do it with getting support up to a forward or to both forwards, and get after teams and score goals. And it doesn't mean you're going to start shipping loads of goals just because you're playing a flat back four. 4-3-3 is a perfectly good formation. To me, it's all about the intent and the players you get on the pitch.
Yeah.
But whatever you do, you cannot have three centre backs, the two wing backs, three defensive minded midfielders, and then just two isolated attackers up top who've got no support whatsoever. And even Antonio plays deep when he was up there with Bowen. He's receiving the ball just inside our half and trying to get turned and run at people, and he's running out to the flanks, trying to get a ball played up to his chest or whatever, or into feet, and with his back to goal, and
Mm.
he's got no chance. And like Antonio, like he works really hard, and
Yeah.
he always gives it everything. I really like Antonio. I've got nothing against him. He always gives it his absolute all, but for a long time now, he just has not carried any kind of goal threat
No.
whatsoever. It's just
No.
not there. And Bowen's form, just has to be said. It just hasn't been what it was,
No.
and he hasn't quite carried the same goal threat. Even though he's our top scorer, he's got 4 goals. We're 23 games in. Our top goal scorer's got 4 goals. Um, Whereas we would all have been hoping, that Skamaka would be supported properly, because we finally have a proper number 9 up there who's a good finisher. And you're thinking, geez, if he can get a dozen goals even, or a little bit more, 12, 14 goals, Premier League, we'll have had a good first season. He's nowhere near. Bowen's top scorer on 4. It's pathetic. And I swear to God, if Moyes does the same fucking thing tomorrow, I mean, he should be sacked just for doing that. Even if we shithouse a 1-0 win tomorrow, playing like that,
All about the
he'll
shithousery.
still be sacked.
But I mean, the intent thing is a very good word, because for me, the players could all want to go out there and get the win. They could want to win 3-0 and give the fans a great day out.
Yeah,
And
and I'll tell you what, if he
go on.
does that, Luke, if he changes the formation and he actually does something positive and tells the players that they're going to get after Forest tomorrow and try and go and score goals, I think he'll get a massive response from the players. I really do. I think they're sick of this shit. And if they get the chance to really go out and impose themselves on the worst away team in the league, they'll respond. I really believe that.
Well, for me, just as a header, I will quote me on this. This is exactly what I'm saying. To me, it's like the players are having to play with one hand tied behind their back, or one leg behind their back, because you can tell that they probably want to fight this, but there's only so much you can do um, with the manager's instructions. And you know, there is a part of me that does want a little mini revolt from the players. I do want the players to go out and attack a bit more, in spite of what they've been told by the manager. But footballers just don't tend to do that. They just tend to do what they're told, get paid, and go home again. And do you know what? Fair enough. It's not their problem, because they're paid by the club. It would be nice if a few of them, or all of them, decides to, no, I'm playing for this team. I've got 60,000 fans here that want me to do well for this team. I'm going to play for them. Sod the manager. They're cheering me as I run onto the pitch. I'm going to play for them. Most of them probably don't care, to be fair. And I really wish to the level there's some human aspect of it, that for their own pride and sanity, that they go, we're not having this. We're better than this. But it doesn't seem to happen in football. Managers tend to always get their way until they don't. So, Tommy, I totally agree with what you're saying. There's many ways it could change it, but just for me, I have no confidence that he'll change it. In fact, I think, it'll probably be even worse tomorrow, because of the fact that he knows he has to win. So it'll probably be more defensive. And when you've got
I don't
players,
even think it's that, Luke. I think that the wording was, if he loses, he's gone. I think he's going to, he could go out with his usual, keep it tight, respect the point shit, and just try and make sure he doesn't lose the game, knowing that that'll keep him in a job.
yeah, that's all he has to do. Just win the game 1-0, last minute, doesn't matter. Penalty.
Even draw it. If he draws, he'll stay.
Yeah, I reckon you're right. Yeah, I agree. I reckon you're right, to be fair. The time it will change, and I'm not saying the fans have got to do this, but I think if this did happen, if there was a toxic atmosphere, not to the levels of Burnley home 5 years ago or whatever, if there was some kind of protests, then it might change things. Because at the minute it's just depressing. At the minute fans go to the game, they see that crap, and they go home, hands in their pockets, heads down, that again, and it's passive aggressive. Now, I'm not saying it's the fans' fault that Moyes is still in the job, but what I am saying is that, if there was calls for Moyes out and stuff like that, that is the only way I can see Sullivan do anything
I
to
don't
it,
know.
mate.
I
Because
think I think maybe the only way they do it is if they feel the pressure. If Sullivan feels the pressure turning towards him,
that's what I'm saying. That's
I
kind of
think
what I
we,
think.
like sack the board would
Yeah,
be like,
that
yeah,
those chants. Because at this point, in fairness to Moyes, right, the only thing that he's got backing him up is that he should have been sacked by now. So in a way, um, it is Sullivan's fault because he hasn't been sacked. And as much as we're sitting here slagging Moyes off for this is Moyes, Moyes has never been any different. So why should we expect Moyes to be any
yeah,
different? Because this is a classic example of a manager who goes down this route. There's no coming back. There's no this in football. This hardly ever happens when a manager is so down in the dumps. The results are so bad. They never go next season. Boom, they're winning titles and championships. The rest of it. It doesn't really happen like that. There's no miracle cure. It just either goes like that or it gets slightly better. And then it's the same crap next season and they go. So for me, as much as I'm always out and I'm blaming him and I'm slagging him off and stuff like that, there's one person who could have changed all this, or three people, or now two people that could have changed all this. And so to a degree, you know,
yeah. Look, Sullivan is carrying.
people are saying, just on the last point, people are saying that if Moyes had any pride about himself, he'd have resigned by now. First of all, managers don't do that. And in fairness, they'd be stupid if they did because the payoff is too bloody good. And
Yeah,
B, Moyes probably still thinks he can do a job. He probably thinks if he does go 1-0, he's got the result. Right, I can go on to the next
yeah.
one and shit house another result out of it. So in his mind, he's probably like just to delude us, as we all know he is.
Oh yes, he
Sorry,
says it
you
after the
know,
game. Like Moyes, if you go by what he says after the games,
yeah, but I think he lies a little bit. He just
Moyes thinks we're playing all right,
I know,
and we've
I
just
think
been
it's
unlucky.
yeah.
You know, he thinks we've just been unlucky. Yeah, I mean, for me, the board made a decision when we broke up for the World Cup, right? They made the decision we're backing David Moyes. As far as I'm concerned, from that moment on, Sullivan is carrying the can for whatever happens after that. He could have done the right thing. He decided not to. They backed him. Okay, but you're carrying the can now. This is all on Sullivan now. Moyes is going to do what Moyes is going to do. He's Moyes. He's going to Moyes. So you know, there's no surprise Moyes is still doing what Moyes does always. But this is on Sullivan now for me, and I think if it goes tits up tomorrow, I think the crowd need to let Sullivan know that this is on him. Like singing Moyes out, okay, it'll put some pressure on. Maybe they sack him, but I think board out. You know, sack the board. I think when Sullivan realizes, oh Christ, they're turning on me. I think that's when he'll finally say, all right, fucking, I better just do something here. Because as far as I'm concerned, this is all on Sullivan now. As
I
soon as
think
they backed him, whatever happens from there on in, so be it. On your neck, be it.
to a degree, as much as us YouTube guys, um, we sit here, we give our opinions and stuff like that. I think there's a certain demographic. I think Anton said it before. There's a demographic um, that aren't on social media, that aren't on YouTube and all the other stuff, that are kind of like, if you know what I mean, they're the silent majority um, that do have the biggest say. And I think I've been to games before where I didn't expect the response that I thought I'd get. What I thought the team would get. I can't remember what they are now, but there's certain times where I think the fans will cheer for something you didn't expect them to cheer and boo for something you didn't expect them to boo and everything like that. And possibly there will be some kind of revolt out of nowhere because I think people are expecting it to get toxic, but we don't know what levels that toxic will reach. And I don't think Sullivan realizes that either. I think Sullivan is quite happy to have fans blaming Moyes. I think he's quite happy to have that.
Yeah.
And all he's got to do is sort of come out, blame the manager. Everyone moans, but no one does anything about it, right? It's almost like the government. You can moan as much as you like, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
So to a level, Sullivan's sitting there going, well, this is all on you, Moyes. They don't like you. So until the face turns the other way and goes into the boardroom, he's not bothered. because he's not fussed.
Yeah.
All this stuff about trying to sell the club, it might be wrong. There's also rumours that he's not trying to sell the club. There's also rumours that he likes Kretinsky as being the man who just gives him money all the time. So there's no definite answer to if he wants to sell the club. It could happen this year. It might not. At this rate, it's not going to happen. But that could be his way of thinking.
So, all right. Obviously, you're not optimistic for tomorrow. Like I say, it's difficult because obviously there's no excuse. There's nowhere left for Moyes to hide. He's got a fully fit squad. If he can't get
He'll find
results now,
somewhere. He'll
there's
find
nowhere
somewhere.
left to hide. So, given that we don't yet know the formation or the starting 11, what's your gut feeling for tomorrow, Luke? What do you think, like scoreline wise, for tomorrow?
I've got a feeling it'll be 2-1 to us, purely because of what's at stake, and I think the players will want to win, just A, to keep things not toxic, and B, because they'll find something within themselves to win the game. We are at home. We don't tend to be that. The home seems to be quite a not a fortress, but maybe like a home advantage will pay dividends. I'm expecting Chris Wood to score. I'm worried for, I think it's Brennan Johnson and Gibbs White, because they're quick on the counter, and we don't like that. We hate plays like that. So that'll be interesting to see how we cope with them too. I've got if any Forest fans who are watching this who are thinking in a way we're inadvertently slagging off Nottingham Forest, it's nothing to do with you. Like, with all due respect, we've been like this for club after club, team after team that's faced us. So you're just a run of the mill now. It's just like, well, if it's not non-Forest, who else is it going to be? So you just happen to be the team we're facing. And in fairness, you're on a good run of form. They've seemed to have gelled as a team. With all the players they've signed. I think it's a record amount of Premier League players signed in one transfer window was what Nottingham Forest did. And fair play, they stuck by Steve Cooper. They've invested in him. They've invested in the players, and they're seeing some sort of reward now. And they got a draw against Man City, which a lot of pundits apparently said that Man City were all over them, should have been 4-5-0. But it wasn't in the end. But I would like to think that the players want to win tomorrow for the fans, if nothing else. In my deluded mind, hopefully they care about the fans, but they probably don't. But I'm going to go with a positive mindset. Even though I don't really think it's going to be that positive. I take, obviously I take it 1-0, but I can't see Chris Wood not scoring. He'll pick up the bench and not a header in. But he has to win, and even if he doesn't get sacked, I still think he has to win, because the place will just be depressing and toxic and horrible. And even if you're not going to get sacked, you just don't want that looming over you. You just don't want to be standing outside by that dugout for 90 minutes, knowing you've got 60,000 fans staring at you, wanting you not to be there. So there's a human aspect of it as well, that he's going to go, I just need to win, just for my own sanity. So possibly that's the way it's going to go. And
sorry, what scoreline?
2-1. Sorry, 2-1.
2-1. Right, 2-1 West Ham. I now obviously this is provisional. We'll wait and see at 2:00 tomorrow what the lineup is. But my suspicion actually is that he'll change the formation a bit. I think he might revert to 4-2-3-1. I have a suspicion he'll change something. And I think the players will respond. Also, they've got quite a few injuries, Forest, which has hurt them. Also, they're the worst team away from home in the Premier League. We're 19th, by the way.
Right.
And actually, I think we're only 19th ahead of them on like goal difference or something. So they've scored 3 goals on the road all season. They really, really struggle for goals away from home. Really, really struggle. So yeah, I'm positive in the sense I think we might get a positive result like you tomorrow. I think maybe I think 2-0. I think there might be 2-0 West Ham. That's not to say I necessarily think it will be a brilliant performance, or that we won't have to really fight for it. But I just have a suspicion he's going to change it up a little bit, the formation, and I think the players will respond. I think he will play Ings. I think he might bring in. I suspect Paqueta will play. Actually, I know Moyes was kind of very coy about Paqueta's suggestion he's not ready, but
Yeah.
the smoke and mirrors with Moyes. I think Zuma will start.
Mm.
I think he might chuck Corney in even. I think Corney has been training, and we could see Corney on that left hand side instead of Benny. Um, I have a suspicion he might try something a bit different tomorrow, which I know is on Moyes, but it's just a feeling. Now, look, I could completely change my mind when I see the lineup, but so I reserve the right to lose my shit at 2 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to. Yeah, I feel like he'll have another kind of kick the can down the road result. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing in the long run, but like I don't know. I think if it's true that the Everton game was shit or bust for Moyes, I think it could turn out that the worst thing that happened to us this season was that we beat Everton at home, um, because we're back where we kind of started, and if he gets that kick the can down the road win again tomorrow, we could well be back in the same position. We could be me and you here the night before the Southampton game talking about if he loses, he's gone and all. So, but look, we desperately need the 3 points, and however we get them tomorrow, I'll be glad of them. We need to get ourselves out the relegation zone, regardless of whether I want Moyes in the job or not. I want West Ham in the Premier League
Yeah.
this
Exactly.
season.
Yeah. Totally
So
agree.
hopefully, I really hope. Like as much as look, I can't stand Moyes to be honest with you. Like his style of play and the way he sets up, I think it's I'm just losing the will to live watching West Ham play, to be completely honest. And
Yeah.
I'd love to have a manager in that could actually get the best out of this group of players because I think they're a very good group of players.
I will
But
say I don't think
nonetheless,
Poch is. I know Poch has been recently in the last day or two been linked. I don't think Poch is the answer personally, and I think we've got to be careful. West Ham fans have got to be very, very careful um, that we don't get a manager in and rejoice just because he plays nicer football.
oh fucking
Because
hell! If you
I
could
know,
tell
I
me
know,
like Pochettino for Moyes by Monday, I'll fucking
yes.
snap your hand off, Luke.
What I'm saying is, I also think Pochettino's been found out, and there's two reasons why I say that. I'll make this very quick point. First of all, do you remember when Tottenham made the Champions League final, and Lucas Moura was the man that got them there with the hat trick in the second leg against Ajax, and he deserved to start the final, but he put Kane in because Kane's the main man, the star man, and he lost his ball. And the rumours are that the Tottenham players went against him because they thought, well, you've got no bottle, you've lost it. I know Tottenham are the champion bottlers, but he basically went against everything that he should have stood by more, should have started more, and I think that's what the players kind of didn't like about him in the end either. So he lost the dressing room to that extent. Also, went to PSG, couldn't handle the players, couldn't handle the height the PSG were. Um, and I didn't follow PSG intently, didn't follow his career there intently, and I could be wrong on a lot of things. But that's just the reports that I got and heard about. So you take from it what you can, like most fans do, I think, when it comes to foreign football, for example. But I don't think Poch will be the saviour that everyone thinks. It's just to the point where West Ham fans, including myself, are so exasperated and so depressed by the way things are at the minute. We would take anything that gives us a bit of a kick up the arse and a bit of a bit of joy and stuff like that.
Yeah, look, I still think he'd be a hell of a lot better than
Fair
Moyes.
enough, fair enough, and I hope he would be. But I am now tending to think long term rather than a short term fix, because the short term fix was Moyes 2.5 years ago, and look where we are now. I know not every manager is going to have that same impact, and not every manager is going to go down the route that Moyes did, but it scares me a little bit now. And I want us to go a different route. I want us to go a totally different route. I don't think we'll go down that route, but I would like us to take risks as a club, manager-wise, or what the rest of the world doesn't think of as a risk anymore, and that someone like Sullivan would think as a risk. So, yeah.
Well, I guess we'll know a lot more at 5 o'clock tomorrow, Luke, and we'll see what kind of situation we're in, because if he doubles down and does the same thing tomorrow, I think we're banging trouble. But we'll wait and see. We'll all know at 2 o'clock when we see the team, because every week I feel like it's hard to believe he's going to just keep doing what he's doing, and every week he just keeps doing what he's doing. Just I can't understand the absolute madness of it. But that's just Moyes for you. So look, I hope he does something. But we'll see tomorrow. But listen, we'll leave it at that. Thanks a lot, Luke, for joining me. Pleasure to have you.
Pleasure
Like I say,
myself.
any week you're free to jump on. Obviously, just message me and I'll shoot you the link and you can pop on.
It's been nice.
Yeah,
It's been really
obviously
nice.
for everybody in the chat, really appreciate you being with me
Yep.
and
Cheers, guys.
always, you've been great, and I always like to hear the views of the people in the live chat. They're always. We started off with Paul Evans with this, and we'll end with the same thing. Take the bloody handbrake off once, for crying out loud. Give the players something to get their teeth into tomorrow, and just boost their morale. But we'll see. But anyway, let's hope we can get the 3 points, whatever happens tomorrow. And again, thanks